Come to standing, and of course with the sun out today we will be incorporating an aspect of salute to the sun in some format. So breathing in, raising the hands up, clasp and reverse, palms up to the ceiling, press your feet into the ground, and breathing out, go to one side. You can stay static or bounce in and out. Breathing in, come to the centre, stretch up, and breathing out, go to the other side. Just check that your head is in between your arms. Come up to the centre and turn to one side. I'm turning to my left. You turn whichever way you want to. Come to the centre and breathing out, turn to the other side. Come to the centre. Just test your balance by lifting your heels. It's a way of occupying your mind and then breathing out, lowering your heels and lowering your hands back down to your waist. And just bring your feet a little bit further apart, hip width apart, and bend your knees bottom away from you. I'm going to invite you to look along the ground because that lengthens the back of your neck. And you'll feel your abdominal control engaging, to engage your lower abdominal muscles. Breathing in, press your feet down, come up to standing, lift and roll your shoulders and clasp behind you with your knuckles aiming to the ground. And this opens your shoulders, and that opens your lung meridians. And then breathing out, just release and relax. Hands slide down the shins, to the shins. Press your hands into your shins and lengthen along your spine. Breathing out, soften your knees, bend your knees and bend your elbows. Breathing in, press onto your shins again, lengthening along the spine. And stay here as you breathe out. And then breathing in, press your feet into the ground as you roll up to standing. And carry on as you raise your hands up, stretching your fingers up to the ceiling. And breathing out, lower your hands back down alongside you. And lift and roll your shoulders. So something we touched on Saturday, if you remember, with the EFT session, which actually crosses over into something called energy medicine, where they're called the K27 points. So it's the points just dropping below your collarbone, where when you touch it, it's slightly sore, and the K or bruised feeling. And the K27 points, if you just rub there, have a number of meridians meeting at that point. So it becomes a very key point for our energy. Now, anything to do with kidneys is to do with our vital essence. And in energy medicine, you'll find that one of the energy releases is just simply to tap there onto that soft point, or that sore point. It is a huge energy release. And then just very gently release the tapping and come to drop your hands, feet are hip width apart as we come to a very familiar sliding or turning from side to side. So we're now looking at all energies, not just the kidney energy. I think people, or I certainly have got sidetracked by kidneys, because in the Chinese system we think, oh, kidneys, but actually kidneys is viewed as part of our overall vitality, our vitality essence. And if your kidney energy is stagnant, then the Eastern, Far Eastern Chinese medicine views that everything is stagnant, you're depleted of energy. And then just very gently come to slowing down. And come to the centre, lift and roll your shoulders. So we're starting off with a Tai Chi sequence, raising your arms up, reverse palms up, and breathing out, lower your arms back down alongside you. And again, breathing in, raising the arms up, reverse, and back down alongside you. And this time, as we would do the same, as we raise the arms up, reverse palms up. This time, bring the arms down in front of you, arms parallel, arms out to the side, feel that in the shoulder joint. Bring your arms back to the centre, clasp them and reverse them up, stretching up. And just go from side to side in a form of swaying palm movement. So you're beginning to balance slightly the weight from one foot to the other. It's an overall balancer, and then come to the centre and release the arms. Bring your thumbs together and bring the backs of the thumbs to the centre of the forehead and just smooth the backs of the thumbs away from each other, coming off at the temple. And again, backs of the thumbs to the centre of the forehead and just smooth across. And again, smoothing across. And then drop the thumbs so that they are either side of your nose, and then just smooth across your cheekbones a couple of times. And then just smoothing, dropping them to your chin, just smoothing almost under the jawline. And you can drop again just slightly under your throat, up to the ear level. And then just release your hands. So that you'll find in Tai Chi, but the thumb movement is moving into the Himalayan Institute yoga. So again, we're very we're just moving into a certain direction. So breathing in, hands up, stretching up, palms together, bring through the centre of the body, bend your knees, and come to touch your fingers on the floor. Breathing in, lengthen your spine. Breathing out, bend your knees, press your feet into the ground, and roll up vertebra by vertebra, back to standing. Hands up, stretching up, palms together, come through the centre of the body, bend your knees, bend your elbows, touch your fingers to the ground. Breathing in, lengthen along your spine, flat back. Breathing out, bend your knees, press your feet into the ground, and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Lift and roll your shoulders. Come to the top of the mat. And breathing in, hands up, stretch your fingers. Breathing out, bend your knees as you roll down, hands either side of your feet. Step your right foot back, stretch out your right leg, and then lower your right knee to the ground and stretch or slide your left knee back so that you are in tabletop. Breathing in, dip your back looking up. Breathing out, round your back, chin to chest. Tuck your toes underneath. Come into a soft dog. And then begin to stretch out your legs. Your heels don't have to touch the ground. You can alter your foot position. Bend one knee and extend the other heel to the ground. And then bend the other knee and extend the opposite heel to the ground. Walking the dog. And repeat a couple of times, slowly bending one knee and extending the other leg. And then extend both heels away from you, heels towards the ground. your back will lengthen, and then bend both knees to come back down to the floor. Hands go to the left, and that gives space for your right foot to come up. Hands either side of your right foot. Breathing in, kneel up, stretching your hands up. Keep your gaze looking forward, and then breathing out, lower your hands back down to either side of the front right foot. Tuck your left toes. Lift up your left knee, and then step your left foot to your right foot. Press your feet down and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Raising your hands up, stretching your fingers, and breathing out, lowering your hands back down alongside you. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, bring the palms of the hands together at the centre. Breathing in, hands up, stretching up. Breathing out, roll down, hands either side of your feet. Step or slide your left foot back, left leg is high, and then lower your left knee to the ground. Slide your right foot back into tabletop, and cat, dipping your back, looking up or along the floor. Breathing out, round your back, chin to chest, comes to cow, tuck your toes underneath and come to a soft downward dog. And here again, explore bending one knee and then bending the other knee, walking the dog. Focus on extending your back by bending your knees and your bottom goes slightly higher. And then extending both legs and then bending both knees to come back down to the mat. Hands go to the right this time, giving space for your left foot to come up. Hands either side of your left foot. Kneel up, hands up, stretch your fingers. Breathing out, hands down to either side of your front left foot. Tap your back toes, your right toes underneath. Lift up your right knee and step your right foot to your left foot. Press your feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up, stretch your fingers. And then just circle your wrists as you bring your hands down. And then circle your wrists in the opposite direction. And if you've been working, just stretch your fingers out and close them in, and then just let your fingers go out and then just close them in. And then shake your hands out. Just a coordination movement. Raise your right arm and circle your wrists in one direction. They'll go in opposite directions. And then circle your wrists in the other direction. Lower your right arm and then raise your left arm. The same thing, circle in one direction, it doesn't matter which. And then circle in the other direction. And then just release. Lift your right shoulder and roll it back. And then lift your left shoulder and roll it back. Right and then left. Lift both shoulders and roll them back. Turn your head to the left as you breathe in and turn your head to the right as you breathe out. In to the left and out to the right. In to the left and out to the right. Bring your head back to centre and then come to sitting on the floor and come with your legs stretched out in a V. Just bounce your feet on the floor and extend both heels. Hands lightly touch the mat to lengthen your spine. And then breathing in, raise both hands Turn to the left and either bending your elbows or just keeping your arms straight, however you feel in your back, come to place your hands on your left shin. As you come forward and turn slightly to the left. Just gently enjoy this forward bend. If you want to lengthen your hands a little bit, you can do. And if you want to hold the outside of your left foot with your right hand, that's an option too. In which case you might enjoy bringing your left hand behind you and looking behind you towards the left hand. And then sliding your right hand up your left shin, come back to the centre. Just once more, touch your fingers to either side of you to lengthen your spine. And breathing in, raise your hands back up again, touching palms. Turn towards your right outstretched leg. And then either coming straight forward, or in my case, I'm going to bend my elbows to slide my hands along my right shin. Bringing my head forward so that the back of my neck is elongated or lengthened. The chin tucks slightly into the chest. So here's an interesting thought, which I find quite difficult. When you come forward, it is difficult because you're turning to the right, but when you come forward, have a sense as if both sides are extending evenly. It's very easy to crunch down on your right side and compress it. So it's almost lengthening your right side and then just coming back to the centre. And again, the invitation is to take your left hand to the outside of your right foot, in which case your right hand would go behind you and you'd look behind your right shoulder. And then breathing in, slide your left hand up your right shin. Come to the centre, raise your hands up. Join thumbs and just slightly sway from side to side. And then lower your hands and come to bring the soles of your feet together in bound angle pose or Baddha Konasana. So the closer you bring your heels towards your perineum, the greater the stretch on the groin, and the further you move your feet away from that point, the more relaxed the pose is. So find your happy medium, and you can hold just above your ankles, keeping your back slightly straight. It's easier to do that in this position. You can slide your thumbs down towards your insoles and just massage underneath your feet, the soles of your feet. So the kidney essence here on the soles of the feet is if you run your thumbs over your big toe joint, they'll naturally fall into the centre of your foot. There's a little dent. It can be sore sometimes. And that connects into that kidney vitality essence. It's associated with the solar plexus point on the foot. But just lightly pressing there is supposed to re-energize us. The big toes represent the head in reflexology. And so the story goes that obviously thousands of years ago, in the Chinese court, the Chinese physicians started to map the body for the meridians when their soldiers came back very injured, and they noticed that if they touched one point on the body, for instance the big toe, that the person felt that sensation in their heads, and that's how they started to map the meridians for reflexology, as I said, thousands of years ago. The other option in Baddha Konasana is to clasp your hands over your toes. That brings you very much forward. You can bounce your knees. And then gently slide up, extend your feet out in front of you. Toes up to the ceiling. And this is going to be classic forward bend. Raise your hands up, palms touch, and then bending your elbows or coming straight over. Slide your hands down your shins and come to rest where it feels appropriate. Pressing your hands into your shins. Have a sense of lengthening evenly along your sides. It's easier to have that even length awareness in a straightforward bend. But that lengthening of the sides is as applicable in something like triangle or trikonasana, that you lengthen evenly in both sides when you come over, or when you do warrior two, and then you come over and rest your elbow on the knee. Again, it can be very easy to shorten the underside of that side where you're coming over. Your chin is slightly tucking into your chest, so this becomes quite a calming movement of forward bend, calming for the nervous system. And then very gently sliding up and cross your left leg over your right at the ankles. Fingers just touching the floor, lengthening as you sit up. And bring your right hand to the outside of your left leg. Your left hand will go behind you, fingers or palms down on the floor. As you breathe in, lengthen up, and breathe out, turn over your left shoulder. As you breathe in, you slightly lengthen your spine by pressing down on your hand, and breathing out, turn to your capacity. Just check that your shoulder is away from your ear. And then coming back to the centre, briefly touch your hands either side of you as you uncross your left leg. Just waggle your feet. You can just touch or tap your big toes together, or the toe joint of your big toes. And then lengthen your spine as you sit up, and cross your right leg over your left, and hands up just slightly, and then bring your left hand to the outside of your right thigh, your right hand behind you. Breathing in, lengthening, and breathing out, turning. Pressing your hand down, breathing in, lengthening, and breathing out, turning. And stay here for a relaxed in and out breath. And then come back to the centre. Uncross your legs. Bend both knees. Hold under your thighs, clasping your hands, perhaps your fingers, and lift your toes off the ground. So the aim here is to keep your back straight, but that doesn't always happen. You'll already engage your abdominal muscles here, but if you want to further increase this stretch and making sure that your lower back's strong, bring your feet up. And the final expression is really engaging your core, tummy in towards the spine and hands out, which is very hard for me, but do carry on doing that. And then just bring your feet to the ground when you're ready, and just slide your hands down your knees, just resting forward. And then very gently come up and come to lying on the floor with your knees bent. Feet are hip width apart. Palms are hands, palms down. Feet can be even wider than hip width apart, and just gently sway your knees from side to side. Your hips will lift slightly as the knees go to one side, and then the other side of the hips will lift slightly. You'll find that as your knees sway from side to side, your head might naturally join in with that movement. So enjoy just turning from side to side, whichever way you want to. So it's moving the spine at the base and at the top, but the spine is supported by the ground. So it becomes a very safe movement, and also then you've got your lower back or the upper part of your bottom receiving a massage as you just move from side to side. That very comforting part just above your bottom is a really deep acupressure point, and the weight of your body is just accessing that. And then bring your knees to the center. Just rest your hands on your abdomen. Your elbows will be out. You can bring your knees together to touch in constructive rest just for a couple of breaths. So this is a breath awareness. As you breathe in, you'll notice your abdomen expanding slightly. And as you breathe out, your abdomen will fall away from you. Almost try and keep your lower part of your body heavy. So as you breathe in, it stays heavy, and that will make your ribs work harder. I'm not being very technical here, but it will just expand your ribs slightly more. If you imagine everything at the base of your lungs and the base of your bottom is heavy on the floor. Your arms open like this, opens up space for your lungs, and it also opens up under the lymph nodes of the arms. So even though some people might have had their lymph nodes removed, the energetic pathways are still there. And so this becomes very beneficial. If you are going to stay here for a longer period of time, you might like to take support underneath your head. And also, if you were staying here for longer, you might like to take a bolster or a cushion under your knees and just keep your lower your knees so they're just supported with a slight kink in them. And it has a very subtle effect on the flow of the blood, so it becomes very restful for the body. And then just very gently hug one knee into the chest and then hug the other knee into the chest, and just very gently rock from side to side. Hug your knees underneath your thighs. Again, you can clasp your fingers and gently raise the soles of your feet to the ceiling, and just gently sway from side to side. It's a seaweed type action, deeply calming. It's an inversion, so the blood starts to flow in the opposite direction. You can just keep with this swaying movement, or you can just give a nod to circling your ankles briefly in one direction, and then circling your ankles briefly in the other direction. Just waking up the circulation in your feet, stretching your toes out. And perhaps coming back to that swaying movement from side to side. And then gently hug your knees into your chest. And we're going to roll to the side and then very, very gently come to rolling up to a standing position. Briefly. So by tucking my toes and very gently come to rolling up vertebra by vertebra to a standing position. Lift and roll your shoulders. And then come to stand in what I call a triangle. We're going to come into warrior two. Left foot in, right foot out. If you were to draw a line, the front heel, from the front heel, if you drew a line backwards, should intersect with the middle of your back arch. Hands up, look over your front knee and your front hand and just drop your weight centrally, and to invite the sense of dropping your weight centrally, feel that someone's holding your back hand and pulling you back. We're just going to go very classically, and then you can keep your hands up. If that's too much for you, drop them to your waist. Come to bring your feet to the centre and then turn your feet the other way. Softening your front knee so as you're dropping your weight, looking over the third finger of your front now, other hand, and breathing out. Come to the centre and drop your arms, they've been up for a long time. Lift and roll your shoulder. So turn your left foot in and the right foot out. And if you remember, I mentioned that imaginary line from the middle of your front heel to intersect the middle of your back arch. When you come over in triangle, we're going to do a triangle variation. Your back should be mimicking that straight line from the front of the heel to the middle of the arch. And your back, imagine it like a sail, because quite often people lose perception and their body goes skew-whiff. So imagine your back in that, following that straight line. Feel free to make adjustments to your feet at any time. So I'm going to raise both arms. This time I'm going to drop my left arm to my waist, my left waist, which opens the shoulder. I am keeping my legs straight as I come forward to the right, and then just brace my right hand on the shin and open out to the left. Now you can see, I can feel that my right side is crunching up. So again, I'm lengthening, I'm sliding down, and I'm imagining my back is in parallel line with the imaginary line on bottom, which will give me something to work with, and that will lengthen me out on my right side. Then either look down at your front right foot, or you can look up to the side. Your chin tucks in if you do look up. And then once you've got your position, just check your left hip. Mine, unfortunately, is aiming down, so I need to open my left hip up slightly, and that means sliding my hand slightly up my shin to achieve that. And again, just check in with your sail, your back line. And then if you feel that you're balanced, you can raise your hand up to the ceiling. And then you come out of the pose as you come in. So look down to your front right foot and then come up and release your hands. There are in fact between about 19 teaching points of Trikonasana. Come to the centre. It's incredibly complicated to get all those points in, and people often lose the will because the time they've done all those points is too much. So set your feet, hands up in the warrior, but then just bring your right hand to your right waist, which opens your shoulder, and then left hand out. Lean forward to the left, drop your left hand to the shin and open out, so as you're opening your right shoulder. And then just check that you feel that your back is in line with that imaginary line on the floor, which is again interesting. And as you've slid down, feel that both sides of your body are even in length. That's again interesting. You might want to adjust to get that parallel line with your body, same as the one, imaginary one on the floor. Hope I'm making sense. And then, again, I find that my right hip bone is angling down. So the only way that I can get my hip bone vaguely upwards is to slide my left hand up my left shin, looking either down or up, and then there's the option to raise your hand, but it is an option in your Trikonasana. And you can press your hands into your left shin to, again, have a sense of length evenly on both sides of the body. And when you're ready to come out, just come out of it as you came into it. And then lower your hands. A lot of lateral stretches, the second your hip bone aims to the ground, you get a greater stretch, but you've lost the benefit of the stretch, because the benefit of the stretch is to open out. So less is more, and you get the better stretch down the side. And so poses can look fantastic, but they're not actually achieving very much. So just feet hip width apart, thumbs together, and then just sway from side to side. And why you might want to stretch properly along the side, from a health point of view, you're opening the intercostal muscles for your lungs, but from a vanity point of view, stretching along there stretches the waist, so it's good for the body appearance, stretching the waist out, and then just releasing the hands back down again. And you're also much better at this than me, so I'm holding onto the wall and I'm just lifting my right foot. You can hold your right ankle, and for those of you who are super balanced, you can let go of the wall hold and come into the dancer's pose, which is a balance, but do hold on if you need to. And then releasing and coming to the other side. So again, it's very releasing, it's very good for your immune system with the white blood cells, as my understanding is manufactured in this thigh bone in particular. So you're stretching that out. So standing on your right hold, just lifting up your other leg. And then very gently releasing out of that and just coming to a quick sway from side to side before we come onto the floor again. And coming onto the floor, coming to stillness, coming to lie unusually on our tummies in Sphinx pose, which is a softer option from Cobra. So Sphinx, your elbows are on the ground in front of you, and you're looking down at the ground. Just feel that you're comfortable. You're looking down so the back of the neck's long. You can stretch your toes, tucking your toes underneath to stretch your heels back. That would lift your leg and then just release. And a Sphinx pose is a back bend. And you're lifting up, though you don't feel that you are, from your chest, which is part of a backbone. So it's very uplifting for the mood, if we needed it on a sunny day like today. You can press your elbows into the ground and almost pull yourself on your elbows slightly forward, and that releases space at your hip and tummy level. And then just release. So you can jelly wobble your bottom from side to side. So it's balancing your sacroiliac, SIS stabilizer. in the back program. And then just very, very gently, elbows out to the side, hands on top of one another, and rest your forehead either straight down or to the side, on your back of your hands. Widen your knees, and then bend your legs, soles of the feet to the ceiling. And this is a windscreen wiper movement, swaying your feet from side to side, but lying on your tummy. If you want to alter your head position and come to the other side, then please do. Or you can stay looking straight down. Lying on your tummy is also very good for one's figure in the Ayurvedic and yogic world. And then very gently lower your feet to the ground. Bring your knees in slightly closer together to be comfortable. Slide your hands out from underneath you, elbows in. As you press your hands into the ground, slowly come up to kneeling, and then very slowly come to a child's pose. You don't have to bring your bottom right towards your heels. Your bottom can stay up slightly. You can even come to a puppy pose, which brings your elbows on the ground and your bottom up. Maybe your head touches the floor. But if you want to carry on into a child's pose, that's fine. It's just resting here for a moment or two. Before sliding your hands in, we're going to come to however it works for you to lying on our backs once more. And knees are up to the ceiling, feet are hip width apart. Hands are palms down. We're just going to come to a couple of pelvic tilts. So flattening the back to the ground as if you're going to lift your bottom. And then actually coming to a very soft bridge. But this time I'm going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to invite you to hold the mat. Your thumb is on top and your fingers are underneath. Just bring your feet to slightly closer to your bottom, almost as if you could touch your heels with your fingers. But your thumb is holding the mat and your fingers are underneath. And then press with your thumbs to pull the mat away from your head and towards your feet. And keep that slight tension. Your elbows will come in potentially slightly, your shoulders might tuck slightly underneath. And then keeping that hold on your hands, lift your bottom slightly in a bridge and feel that holding the mat gives you support. Breathing out, lower your bottom back down to the ground. And take an in and an out breath. And then once more, press your feet into the ground, lifting as little or as much as you like. And as you lift up, your hands are aiming, pulling towards your feet. Your chin tucks in. And it gives you added support for your lower back if you need it. It's just a slightly different take on bridge, and then lower your bottom back down to the ground. Release the hold on the mat and just gently sway your knees from side to side. And then coming back with your knees to the centre. Rest one hand on your abdomen and the other hand at the solar plexus level. And just become aware of your breathing as you breathe in and out. And then take this moment to have set your intention for the day and mentally repeat that intention so that the intention is set. It can be for yourself or it can be for somebody else, somebody you wish well for the day. And I've mentioned the kidney energy, which is the element of water. And this is the element of water with the koshis. And if you combine them with the element of air, it enhances the flow and the fluidity aspect. So as we come into spring, flows start again as the shoots and the leaves start to come into bud. So there's an emphasis on movement and flow following the stagnation of winter. And you might like to take or choose a colour today that resonates with you. And engaging with this flow this time of year, wrap yourself like cotton wool all the way around in the colour of your choice, so that you're sealing in your thoughts, your intentions, anything positive, and then just let that float away. And you can stay where you are to take a mental vow for yourself for the day ahead, and then either come to just relax and drift off. You don't have to get up, but thank you very much for joining me today.